This is a Dubied Industrial Knitting Machine. These are what commercially produced knitted garments were made on before production went digital, and they're still perfect for design experimentation and small-scale production. There were other brands too, but Dubied was the fanciest, and it's what we have in our studio. So I'm George from Knitworks London. We sell the finest machine knitting yarn online and in-store, teach machine knitting classes, and we also hire knitting machines to use in our East London studio. Dubied machines were produced in Switzerland from the late 1800s until the 1980s. They're industrial pieces of equipment, so they're big, heavy and expensive, and now they're getting rare, but they were built to last. So who uses them? They're present in the workshops of most fashion and textile university courses that teach knitwear, because lots of the students will be producing their knitwear on these machines, and knitwear brands would expect graduates to know how to use them. Some knitwear brands have Dubieds in their design studios, and small-scale producers too. In industry, they're mostly used for design development, sampling, testing techniques and yarns, colour combinations, and making swatches to send to a factory. This enables the designers to take hands-on control of their fabric design. You can knit something and immediately see if it looks right. In contrast, if you drew something on the computer, sent it off to a factory, they had to program the machines, knit it and send it back, that would take much more time and cost much more money, and it might not even look right when it came back. So being able to develop fabrics yourself as a designer using the Dubied makes the design process far more efficient and cost-effective. There are several differences between a domestic knitting machine and an industrial. Domestic machines come in chunky, standard and fine gauges. Dubieds come in dozens of different gauges, each tailored for specific thicknesses and garment types. The gauges are named for how many needles there are per inch, so the more needles there are per inch, the finer the gauge. At Knitworks London, we have a 2.5 gauge, which is Aran, 7 gauge, which is similar to a standard gauge domestic, 8 gauge, which is similar to a fine gauge domestic, 10 gauge bridges the gap between this and the 12 gauge, which is a fine gauge t-shirt thickness. On a domestic machine, we can add a ribber to create a double bed fabric, whereas a Dubied is designed as a double bed machine. There are 2 types of needles, high and low butts. We can set these up before we start knitting to knit different patterns and techniques. The carriage is split into 4 carriages, front, back, left and right, each with its own tension, knitting and tucking levers. This allows you to be doing different things on different beds in different directions. You can change yarns just by using a lever, so it's much faster, and the beds are longer, so you can knit bigger pieces of fabric. The carriages move more smoothly with less resistance. Most people stand up to knit with them, so you can put your full body into it, and it feels like more of a natural movement. So they're faster to knit with overall. These are industrial machines made from cast iron, designed for production in a fast pace at a factory setting. Whereas a domestic machine has some plastic parts, these are all metal, so they're robust and built to last. Using the Dubied can be a lot to get your head around, but once mastered, you can knit anything from t-shirts up to Aran woolly jumpers in an amazing range of patterns and techniques. And understanding how to knit on a Dubied helps you understand digital production as well, because both the terminology, what the different techniques are called, so you sound like an expert, and the actual process of knitting, what the machines are doing and what is possible to do. Since the digital machines are like motorized versions of these industrial machines, the parameters of what they can do is quite similar. So if you're working as a designer, you'll be able to work with factories much more efficiently if you can knit with a Dubied. You'll understand what can and can't be done, you'll understand the constraints and creative opportunities. If you find yourself working with a digital machine programmer in a factory who hasn't worked on a particular technique before, you'll have the understanding to help make it possible. So let's have a look at some examples of what you can make on the Dubied. This is a plating technique. All of the Dubied machines we've got available to hire at Knitworks London have got plating feeders, so that means you can use it to swap between the front and the back of the knitting. So you can put one colour at the front and then swap to the other colour that's at the back. So you can do different patterns with this. Here's a little smaller version. Here it is again. Here we've used stripes. As you can see, it makes a sort of buckled 3D effect at the edges. This is an elongated version. And some stripes. So here's a rib structure. Simple 2x2 rib that makes the knitting really stretchy. Use some fun striped colours. This is our fine lamb's wool. And here's the ribs used for their traditional use to make trims and edges of garments. Perfect for a cuff. On the Dubied, you can create knitted fabric that's quilted or stuffed. Because it's a double bed machine, you can create 3D structures with pockets that you can then stuff with wadding or even beads or buttons, maybe sequins, built into the fabric of the knitting. Here are some 3D structures you can knit. Here, it's sort of corrugated. Here we've got soft loop pile. Some little ripples that's flat on the back. Or some bigger ones. Or selected ripples to make a sort of 3D pattern. You can create decorative patterns on the Dubied by not knitting with every needle. Here we've got some zigzags. You can do check effects. Or this sort of swirling warped effect. You can knit patterns like these squares on the Dubied Industrial Knitting Machines by using the high and low butt needles. You can pre-select these before you start knitting, and that creates the patterns. Here's some different proportions. You can make some scalloped edges with the same technique. Here's a sort of domino effect, and in a different colourway. And here's some fun zigzags. So you can come to Knitworks London to hire our Dubied machines. All the details are on knitworkslondon.com. We also teach Dubied courses. We have an intensive 5-day Dubied Industrial Knitting Machine course covering all the features and techniques of the Dubied. This will give you a really good grounding on using them, and you'll leave with a technical folder full of techniques. You can put your new skills into practice with our Dubied garment making course the week after, where we'll show you how to make a fully fashioned t-shirt on the Dubied. This course is also open to people who've used the Dubied before or want to learn how to make garments. So check out knitworkslondon.com for details, and like and subscribe for more machine knitting content, and we hope to see you in a class or in the shop soon.